Hey guys, welcome back to Fire Team Base, and thanks for joining us for our Week 15 NFL Pick-Ums.
Pick-Ums.
Jeez, man, rough week last week. How you feeling?
Buddy, I believe I finished 8-8. The fact that I was the best out of everyone was a miracle, I would consider at that point. If I'm not mistaken, you've had last week, your record was the worst that anyone has had on the show up to date.
Yeah, if you've been keeping track of us, last week Bees finished 8-8 to bring his season total up to 73-44. Reap finished 5-11 to bring his season total up to 75-42, and our guest Deepus finished 5-11 to bring his season total up to 74-43. Bees, you're still 2 games back. You made up a little bit of ground, and despite my horrific showing there, I'm still out in front by a little bit. Think you're gonna close the gap this week?
Yeah, this week or next, it's going to happen sooner than later. But, we got a couple of tough matchups this week, so I can't wait to see what really happens. And tonight's special guest coming all the way from Illinois with the bad boys, B. Razor, what up, dude?
Hey, what's up, fellas? What's going on?
Oh,
Excited to be on the show with you guys.
Yeah, man, we're excited to have you. I can't wait to hear your picks for the night. And this is huge. If you show up a good outing, or if you have a good outing here, you could make the playoffs and join our playoff crew. So let's get cracking, Reeps. What's our first matchup?
All right, guys. With that, we're going to start with Thursday night's Broncos at Colts. Bees, take us away.
I'm going to take the Broncos here, plain and simple, man. I know the Indianapolis is at home, but they're playing in a dome, and they had a pretty impressive defensive stand against the Jets last week. I'll take the Broncos here, 17-13.
I'm also going to take Broncos. I think their defense is going to be the difference in this one. I know I've been touting them for a couple of weeks, and they've kind of let me down a little bit. But I think the Broncos get their 4th win of the season this week on the road at Indy. Not too much to say. I'm going to say 27-18.
I'm also going to go with the Broncos over the Colts. They came off the 23-0 shutout of the Jets, so they're going to have the momentum going into the game. 17-10 Broncos.
Moving forward, we have some Saturday games. Bees, starting this week, we have Bears at Lions.
Man, I know the Bears just had a huge win against the Cincinnati Bengals, even though they're eliminated from the playoffs. But I really can't trust the same result here against the Lions. The Lions are still vying for a playoff spot, and I think they're going to take care of the Bears at home, 24-16.
I think this one's also going to be Lions. I think they're just the better team right now, and despite that good win by the Bears that's showing a little bit of faith moving forward, I think the Lions are going to keep their playoff hope slightly alive by winning this one 24-10.
I'm going to pick the Bears on this one, being that Trubisky has been unleashed, and he's going in on a hot hand to complement the run game. 24-21 Bears.
In our second Saturday game, we have Chargers at Chiefs. A huge matchup in the AFC.
Dude, a huge matchup, and to me, hands down, the hardest game to call this week. There are reasons why both teams, I feel, could win this game, but just because they're at home, I'm gonna roll with the Chiefs here, and because I need Kareem Hunt to have a big game, I'm gonna take the Chiefs at home, 26-23.
I'm going to go the opposite direction. I think the Chargers are going to win this one simply because their air attack has been great and they've been good on the defensive side of the ball. I think the Chiefs have found a little bit of offensive mojo, but a lot of that's come against bad teams here lately. I don't think that you're going to have enough to beat a Chargers team that'll eventually take that AFC West home seed. So I think the Chargers win this one 28-27.
I'm also going to go with the Chargers over the Chiefs. Chiefs started off hot, but Chargers are playing the best football in their division. So 2017 Chargers.
All right, moving forward, we have our first Sunday game, Dolphins at Bills.
I know the Dolphins just had a huge win against New England, which I was totally wrong about. I think we were all wrong about. But, that Jay Cutler just is not going to show up every week, man. And that defense is suspect at best. And they're going to be playing in a cold environment. Taking the Bills here at home, 19-14.
With Nathan Peterman and Tyrod Taylor being hurt, I just don't think there's any way I can take the Bills. Look for Jay Cutler and his defense to come off a high and keep it rolling in Buffalo this week, barring any kind of major weather. I think the Dolphins win this one 31-13.
I'm going to take Dolphins over Bills. They've got a smoking Jay Cutler, and they'll ride his momentum after last week's win, 17-14. Dolphins.
Next, we have an NFC matchup as the Packers try to keep their playoff hopes alive against the Panthers.
Oh, boy, man. If Aaron Rodgers was playing, I'd take the Packers, but he's not, so I'm going to take the Panthers. It's in Carolina, and they have a lot to they still have a long ways to go. I'm going to take the Panthers here, 31-14.
Now, I'm not sure if A-Rod's playing or not. I heard there was rumors he might play this week.
He's not.
But just him coming – okay. Well, just him coming off an injury, I don't think I'd take him either way. I think this Panthers defense is the real deal, and I think that's the reason they're going to be going to the playoffs. I think the Panthers win this one relatively comfortably, 34-20.
I also have the Panthers over the Packers. It would have been a different story if Aaron Rodgers was coming back, but he's not. So 31-24 Panthers.
Moving forward, we have an AFC North matchup as the Ravens try to keep their playoff hopes alive versus a hapless Browns.
There's no way the Ravens lose this game, man. They've been putting points up on the board, which is something the Browns cannot do, and they're still, in the playoff hunt. So they will play. They will not underestimate this Browns team. I'm gonna go Ravens 34 to the Browns 17.
I'm also going to pick the Ravens, but I think this one's going to be a lot closer than everyone thinks. I think the Browns match up pretty well against the Ravens that really have success on the ground. And I don't think, after they gave the scare to the Packers last week, I don't think this Browns team's ready to lay down and just take a 0-win season. I think the Ravens still win this one 24-23.
I'm also going to pick the Ravens over the Browns, 27-24 Ravens.
All right, moving forward, we have a matchup in the AFC South as the Texans take on the Jaguars.
Well, as we know, Tom Savage is also hurt, so that makes two quarterbacks down for the Texans. I don't even know who their third string is, but I don't think it would matter anyways with this matchup. Got the Jags steamrolling the Texans here, 31-10.
I also think the Jaguars are going to win. I don't think a beat-up Texans team really has any kind of chance against it. Despite my Titans needing them to come through, I think the Jags win this one pretty easily, 31-10.
Also got the Jags over the Texans. They've got a great running back, decent pass game, and their defense is legit. I really think they're a Super Bowl contender, 31-7 Jags.
Moving forward, we have a cross-conference battle with the Bengals visiting the Vikings this week.
Got to take the Vikings here. I know they had a tough matchup last week with the Panthers, and they ended up coming up short, but they're still a legit team, even with Case Keenum as their quarterback. I'm going to take the Vikings here, 28-17.
With the Vikings only one game down from the number one seed in the NFC, look for them to battle hard with the Eagles having lost Carson Wentz this week. I think the Bengals really can't do anything right, having just got their teeth knocked in by the Bears. And I think you're going to see the same thing happen again this week. I think the Vikings win this one comfortably, 42-17.
I'm also going to go Vikings over Bengals. They're playing at home, finally coming off that tough stretch on the road, 21-10 Vikings over Bengals.
In another cross-conference matchup, we have Jets at Saints.
With McClown getting hurt last week, there's no way that the Jets are going to stand a chance in this game. Saints are at home and coming off a loss to the Falcons. I'm going to take the Saints here, 37-12.
I also think this one's a layup, and I think the Saints are going to win this one in a game that actually helps both franchises going forward. It'll help the Jets with their draft pick and help the Saints move closer to the playoffs. I think the Saints win this one relatively comfortably, 34-10.
Also got Saints over the Jets. It's a must-win for New Orleans. 31-7. Saints over Jets.
Next, we have an NFC East matchup. Eagles at Giants.
I know Wentz is out for the season, but Foles, back when he was in Philadelphia, he had his best years, I should say. And he's not a terrible backup to have. I do think they're going to win this game. They won't go too far in the playoffs. At least they won't make the NFC Championship with them, I don't believe. But they will take care of business against the Giants, 27-17.
I think this team has a matchup to match the Minnesota Vikings that everyone thought would be toast once they lost their starter. I think a lot will depend on whether or not Foles can recapture some of that 2013 magic, but I believe that this is a good matchup for him to get started with, as I think the Giants are pretty much done playing at this point in the season. Look for the Eagles to win this one, still 28-24.
Also got the Eagles over the Giants. Eagles are still a very good team with Foles as QB. So 17-13 Eagles.
And in our final 1 o'clock game, we have the Cardinals visiting the Redskins.
I'm going to take the Redskins. Yeah. They're going to, I know they're pretty much eliminated from the playoffs, barring like a crazy 0.01% chance of scenarios happening that could possibly happen. But they're going to take care of business against the Cardinals. I'll take them here 21-7.
With Kirk Cousins likely to hit free agency in the offseason, I think he's going to be using these last 3 weeks to put on a show and showcase his talents one last time for everybody in the NFL to make sure his paycheck winds up as big as possible. Look for the Redskins to eke this one out against a Cardinals team that's somewhat underrated, having beaten both the Titans and the Jaguars, 2 playoffs teams in the AFC. Still, Redskins win 34-31.
We've got the Redskins over Cardinals. Cardinals look like 2 different teams. 1 week they're great, 1 week they're not. The last week they played decent against the Titans, so I predict that they'll win this week against the Cardinals 24-10.
Moving forward, we have our first 4 o'clock game and what might be a playoff matchup in the future with Rams at Seahawks.
With the NFC West still up for grabs, and the fact that the Rams keep impressing me with every single team they play, I really do have to take the Seahawks here, though, unfortunately, just because of that Rams defense showed a lot of holes in it last week with Wentz, and especially since Russell Wilson is a super mobile quarterback, I think that's going to be the difference here. 24-14.
Looks like we're on the same page again, Bees. I think the Rams are a good team, but visiting Seattle in what turned into a chippy showdown with Jacksonville last week, I just don't know if they're going to have the toughness to eke out one of the hardest teams to play at home in the NFC. I think the Seahawks win this one 24-20.
I'm going to take Rams over Seattle on this one. They play well against Seattle, and they're coming off a loss, so they're going to try to redeem themselves. I'm going to go Rams 17, Seattle 13.
Next, we have another high-class matchup with the Patriots visiting the Steelers.
Oh boy, I know Pax would want to kick my ass for saying this, but I'm going to be taking the steel curtain here, man. That offense is just way too explosive, and that Patriots defense is suspect at best. Tom Brady showed quite a bit of flaws against that front four of the Dolphins, and the Pittsburgh Steelers front 3, or when they decide to rush that linebacker 4, is pretty good too. But I got this I got a massive shootout here, and the Steelers winning it 41-37.
I think we all know that if last week's Patriots game had gone 5 quarters, that they probably would have won that game, which is why I think I'm going to take them this week. I think Tom Brady is going to be incredibly upset with his team's performance last week and look for him to come out on fire. Not to mention the Steelers tend to struggle against the Patriots historically. I think the Pats are going to win this one in what turns out to be a shootout, 28-27.
Also going to go Patriots over Steelers. Pats haven't lost 2 games in a row since 2012. So Pats 31, Steelers 28.
And in a head-scratching matchup this week, we have Titans visiting the 49ers.
Dude, what happened with your Titans last week? How the hell are they going to lose to the Cardinals with the situation they're in, man?
You just haven't been watching the Titans game. Every game we've been playing has been this type of game. They just didn't pull it off this week.
Oh, man. Well, there's no way I'm going to take the 49ers over the Titans here. They're still vying for that playoff spot. I know I've said that like 10 times this episode, but I got to imagine they got a busted here. Delaney Walker is going to be going up against his old team and looking to score. If you have him in fantasy, check him out as a sleeper this week. I got the Titans winning this one 21-19.
I'm going to have to go against Vegas this week. Vegas has the Titans as 2-point underdogs, especially with Marcus Mariota having a knee sprain. I still think he's going to have what it takes to do just enough for this Titans defense to carry them to another win out on the West Coast. I think the Titans win this one 13-12.
I'm also going to go Titans over 49ers. Titans 17, 49ers 14.
Next, we have a Sunday night matchup. Cowboys at Raiders.
I'm going to take the Cowgirls here. Another team that has a chance to make the playoffs. And check this out. If all things work out the way they should, Zeke will be back the week that they play Seattle, which would be huge, huge, huge. But I got them winning this one. I know it's in Oakland, but they're going to take it here 26-12.
It's an interesting matchup for me from two teams I think that are just going to miss the playoffs. I think the Cowboys are still the better squad than the Raiders are. Look for them to win this one 27-26 out in Oakland.
Also going to go Cowboys over Raiders 31-28.
And finally, we have a Monday night matchup with the Falcons at the Buccaneers.
Oh, man, dude. Who would have thought that the NFC South would have been, or the Buccaneers would have been at the bottom of that NFC South this year? But, things.
Call it.
You did call it. You did.
Check
but
the tape.
I still did have the Falcons winning this division, even though they're letting things slip a little bit. But I feel like last week Steve Sarkisian started to find his groove again against the Saints when they won that game. So they're going to take this one and make things interesting in that division. Falcons 27, Buccaneers 17.
I think Steve Sarkisian and the Falcons got really lucky that a lot of players got hurt in the Saints last week. After all, Matt Ryan threw 3 interceptions. And they still managed to steal that game away. I do think the Falcons are going to win this week. I think the Buccaneers aren't playing for much at this point, and I don't see them eating too many W's here in the near future. I think the Falcons win this one 27-10.
Also going to go Falcons over Bucks. I think the Falcons come in and sling it over the Bucks 28-7.
And why are they? I was going to say, why are they going to sling it? Because of Steve Sarkisian, baby.
Steve Sarkisian, the next man to be unemployed in the NFL. Anyway.
Well, that wraps up our Week 15 Pick-Ums, guys. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe channel to stay up to date with all of our future tech unboxings, game reviews, and more.
And let us know down in the comments which one of us you think won this week and who your picks are for this Week 15 in the NFL. Playoffs coming up, remember.
Playoffs are coming up. 4 vital spots. Razor, thanks for being on the show, man, and we hope to see you in the playoffs, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Fire Team Base, he's out.
Keep reaping, guys.